Hello, welcome. Welcome to Wine Wednesdays. It's great to be here again with you. Thanks for joining me on this beautiful August summer evening here on the hill, back down in the Olive Grove. Weather's been nice and warm. It's starting to warm up again. We've had actually a pretty nice growing weather, growing season the last few weeks, and it's starting to ramp up. So getting excited about harvest and doing lots of planning right now. And our Sauv Blanc is getting close. It's over 20 bricks right now. That is going to be from our Rutherford estate on Mee Lane. So if you're enjoying your 2019 Sauv Blanc, it is getting close. So the 2020 will be here soon enough. So getting super excited, getting ready, wrapping up bottling here at the winery, and yeah, just enjoying the summer. So. But like I said, it is ramping up. The heat is getting warmer, and we're all getting excited for harvest. So back to school. It's definitely a different time. So anyways, welcome to Wine Wednesdays. If you've joined me before, happy to be back with you all. Hope you all have been having a nice summer. And I've been having a nice summer. We actually adopted a rescue dog a week ago. So his name is Cody with a K. As my son will say, it is his dog, so that's very good news. So he has a buddy, and yeah, just doing great. So I hope you all are healthy out there, and look forward to tasting some wines with you. So, yep. So a reminder too is that we are open. So with a reservation. So if you want to come see us, please do. You can go online or call for reservation, and you can also bring a picnic. We're open for picnics again, so you can reserve a picnic table and come enjoy the beautiful view and the wines. It'll be great to see you here. So, yep. So welcome back. We'll welcome you back. So here we go. We're doing tonight a really fun tasting. We're doing a comparative tasting of two wines, and they both happen to be from the 2015 vintage. And if you've joined me before, we've talked about the 2015 vintage. That it was one of our drought years, and it was the fourth year in a row. And that vintage we had early harvest, and we finished a lot sooner than we normally do. Smaller berries, lots of concentration, and it was one for the records. And such great intensity in these wines, and they're showing really lovely tonight. So I'm excited to share them with you. We are going to do a comparison of two different varietals that some folks often think, oh, are they the same wine? We have our 2015 Syrah and a 2015 our Petite Sirah. So something we don't always talk about, and we've been talking a lot about, if you've joined me for the other series, a lot of Bordeaux varieties. And this is going to be fun, going a little bit to the Rhone for our Syrah, and the fun facts about these. What are they the same? What are they different? The Syrah is actually one of the parents of the Petite Sirah grape, and it's the cross. I'm gonna have to look up. Is Pelarusin was the other varietal, and it's nearly it was extinct. It was in the 1800s by a botanist named Francois Durif, and so oftentimes folks refer to Syrah as Durif, but it is referred to as our Syrah, and so it was crossed and then came up with the Petite Sirah. And you would think that, Petite Sirah, that the wine is going to be maybe, I don't know, what do you think of when you say Petite Sirah and Syrah? Which one do you think maybe will be more tannic, more tannin? Do you think maybe it would be the Syrah would maybe be more tannic? Or do you think Petite Sirah? Well, Petite Sirah, stories I've heard about why it's called Petite Sirah is that it is the morphology of the cluster was just smaller than what you would look at for the Syrah, the size of a Syrah cluster. It was just smaller, and the berries were actually smaller. So because of the surface area then with the skin and the juice and the pulp, you get actually more tannin extraction. So actually the Petite Sirah is more of it's a weightier, tannic, more bold red wine than, say, the Syrah has a little bit more body and it's a little softer. So I think that's really interesting, and it's yeah, and it's fun. And I'll tell you a little secret about the Petite Sirah, is that this is the first time I ever made Petite Sirah as a winemaker. So it was with this wine. So it's really fun, and I've really grown to just love it. And we source the Petite Sirah from a vineyard up in Calistoga, the winery Valentine Vineyards. So they have a Pokai vineyard up there. It's right next door to Three Palms, if you're familiar with Merlot from Duckhorn, Three Palms. So it's quite a fabulous vineyard there, and we just get a little bit of 5 to 6 tons, depending on the vintage, to make here just for you all. So just for our wine club. And so that's that one. We'll get into the tasting notes in a minute. And then the Syrah, starting with the child, but we'll start tasting with the parent. But then we have our Syrah here, and we have a vineyard out in Pope Valley. And we had a block out there. It was block 6. And this is the last vintage that we made Syrah. This is really special, and I love this wine. And we actually did some replanting due to virus out there, and actually this harvest for 2020, we're getting our first fruit off of that vintage, those blocks now, 6 and 7, are now planted to cab. So that is exciting, but it's sad that we don't have our Syrah anymore. But so that makes this even extra special to enjoy this Syrah this evening with you. So 2020 is going to be quite exciting because we are getting our young vineyards are starting to produce fruit. And so we will be getting, as I mentioned, the Sauv Blancs coming on hand. We'll also be getting some of our new Cab also from Rutherford and out in Pope Valley, and Cab Franc. So I'm super excited to play with that fruit. So, okay, but let's get back to the tasting. So Syrah, if you even want to maybe compare them, if you have 2 glasses, or if you're maybe you're not even enjoying it today, you'll do it later, is that you'll notice that the Petite Sirah is a little darker, a little deeper, a little bit more blue hue today, and the Syrah is a little bit lighter. It's got a nice smoky. There's a little bit of more of a smoky aroma to it. I did take this aroma earlier, and to the aroma, which you often. I mean, I think a lot of folks. They think when they think of Syrah, they think of that kind of. I often hear the terms that gamey, or just got more of that rustic, that smoky tone to it sometimes with the fruit. But what I love about Syrah is that it has so many different layers, and it has this great fruit component, and there's also spice in there. Actually, both of them. I think you can see there's some similarities there. That genetic trait that it gets, that spicy component. They both have this nice spicy component, and it does carry its own with tannin as well, just not as hefty usually as the Petite Sirah. But you can find Syrahs that are also they can have a lot of tannin, and just a lot of food-friendly wine that you would pair with. A lot of folks do roasted meats and all that good stuff. Mushrooms, you could do beans, like rich meals. It really cuts through. It can tolerate those kind of meals. Like rich pastas, or maybe even some eggplant. So, anyways, lots of things to enjoy with these wines. And I think that if you were having them in one sitting, that they would complement the similar foods. So it's a nice way to kind of play with the wines and sit down and have a dinner and see what goes best with which food. So
Jane Whitehead says would love food pairing suggestions, which you've outlined a couple different meats.
Yeah, and also if we were just talking about, I eat a lot of vegetables, so trying to start giving a little bit more of my veggie suggestions. But I do eat meat too, but roasted pork, I think that's one that comes up a lot for both of these. I was doing some research, some barbecue meats, spicy bean or meat chili, or you could do a veggie chili. I think that would be great for both of these. And then, like I mentioned, the mushrooms and eggplants, beans and peppers. I think all of those complement them pretty well. So, you could easily do like a grilled, have a grill day. It is summer. It's nice to be outside, so it would be perfect accompaniment to something like that during this nice weather we're having. Maybe when it cools down a little bit, you don't want it on a super hot day. So our Syrah is 100% Syrah, and one little fun thing about this wine too is that it is. We talk about for Napa Valley wines that they need to be 85% from at least 85% from our appellation, and also because we have Rutherford in our name, we also hold that true too, that all of our wines need to be at 85%, but most of our wines are 100% from Napa Valley. And this wine is 85% from our estate, and then actually 15% from a vineyard in Dry Creek Valley in Sonoma County. So, which is, I think it really adds this nice layer. Just knowing those two vineyards separately, it really brings this nice darkness to the Syrah that I love so much, nice texture. So, like now it's opening up more. I'm getting the black cherry, a little bit of tea. There's some spice on there too. It's really full. It really, really full-bodied, and it's got a smooth. You can feel the weight of it, some tannin, but it's really got this nice viscosity that it gives your whole palate. A little bit of heat on the finish, and a little bit of for me, I'm getting a little bit of an espresso finish. It's really tasty. It was on skins. If you're interested in the fermentation aspect of, since we're talking harvest, we did leave it on the skins for a little bit, almost 3 weeks, and then we pressed it off. We did French oak. Went into French oak, about 30%, 30 to 40% new oak, and left it in there for about 1.5 years before we bottled it. Yeah.
When you leave it on the skins, like, what is the desired
thing
outcome? Yeah, does it add like flavor, or
it adds like texture, and it does add some flavor, and you know, just really extracting kind of as much as you can out of the skins, because you have that one shot, right? With the skins, we go through all this effort of growing this fruit all year long, and when we bring it into the winery, we want to just take the extra special care with the fruit. Excuse me. And really, that's that fermentation process, right? Really monitoring the conversion, right? The sugars get eaten up in alcohol and CO2. So really, and just monitoring it and tasting the fruit every day and the fermenter, and to really see how it's evolving, and just really looking for that, I don't know, for me, I just know. You just kind of know. You taste it. You just really want that extra. You're leaving it on there for the extra. So. And it gives it this nice texture too.
Sharon is asking, does Syrah blend well with other varietals?
I think Syrah blends well with actually a little bit of that's not really a total secret, but we do use, historically have used Syrah in with our Merlot that we make, our Napa Valley Merlot. It's a nice filler, it's a nice balance, a complement, that's the word I'm looking for. A compliment, and you know, it's one of the things that historically Syrah has been used, you know, to kind of complement, or like if you have a cool vintage, you know, and the cool vintage on some varietals, the Syrah really brings the fruit and helps kind of balance out those more maybe herbaceous notes and things. So it's a nice way to make a wine complete. So yes. So. But it's also a wonderful standalone wine. So, and that's really, I really enjoy having a standalone Syrah too.
And Elizabeth asked if you would treat Syrah and Petite Sirah differently in the winemaking process.
Yes. Yes, a little bit. Well, yes and no. We do use similar yeast, and we do tank ferment. The Petite Sirah that we made in 16. This was the first year that I made it, and it was just, we did it straight in tank, like we did the Syrah side by side. They were in the same tanks. We were really watching the tannic, and if you taste the Petite Sirah, there is, like I mentioned, it is a more tannic wine, more tannic grape. You know, it has those smaller berries, and it's just, you get this really clawing tannin. And so we were really watching. We wanted to extract as much as we could, but we were also watching to make sure that we didn't overdo it. But I would say the same process is generally the same for these two wines. What we did start doing, though, that I really love with the Petite Sirah, is we started fermenting it in barrels and in large, what we call puncheons, so with the heads off, and putting the grapes crushing them into these mini tanks of wood, and fermenting that way, and then they would rise and we would hand punch them down. And so it really just gave this kind of softened a little bit the tannin, but then just the barrel tannin also just layered in there with the grape tannin and really create a nice texture for the wine. So yeah, it just depends on the vintage too. And I think it's fun because, you know, Petite Sirah, I think when lovers of Petite Sirah, I think really are looking for a lot of tannin. It's kind of like, you know, we've talked about Petit Bordeaux as well, that we use in our Bordeaux varieties. That Petit Bordeaux can also have that real tannic finish, and it really brings a lot of punch to the blend that they're similar like that. And that folks are often, they love that. Like there's that really look for that really just really tannic, astringent, you know, chewy, as people use that description, chewy wine. And if you taste ours, I don't think ours is quite that extreme, but it definitely, you'll see side by side, you'll see that it does have more of the tannin on the palate. And the other thing too is we did blend in a little bit of Merlot with this Petite Sirah to help counteract, kind of soften, or as I always envision it like just filling it in. You know, the Merlot kind of fills in those cracks of the tannin of the Petite Sirah.
Someone's asking, just to confirm what you said at the beginning, that is the 2015 the last vintage of Syrah that we've made?
Yes. This is the last of the 2015. Yep, Syrah.
Okay. And one other person is asking, just, is there a reason that we decided to plant Cab instead?
Mm-hmm. Yes. The reason we decided to plant Cab is that we felt like the site of the vineyard was best suited for the Cab, and it really fit with our wine portfolio that we're doing with the Merlot and all of our Bordeaux varieties. So we also had a block of Sangiovese next to the Syrah that's now Cab as well. So we do have a little bit of the Sangiovese remaining as well. So that's a really fun, light-bodied wine as well. But those, you know, the last of that vineyard. So, but they're really fun and versatile. I think it's great, you know, to have with, you know, when you get together someday with our friends and family. But anyways, just lighter style wine that's great for pasta. And my Aunt Cheryl, that's like one of her favorite wines. That's Sangio. So, but anyways, but the Petite Sirah, is anyone tasting tonight with me?
Yes, lots of people are tasting.
This one was a little longer in barrels than the Syrah, so that would be the slight difference. Okay. But you know, again, that tannin, like we were talking about the tannin, and it can really handle, you know, the oak, and a little bit newer oak.
Mm-hmm. And everyone is loving it. Questions are like, you know, is there more still available, and how long to age? Drink now or hold this bottle longer?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe there's still some of this available, so check us out online. That'd be great. And I think, you know, again, it gets back to what your personal preference is for wines. I think it's a great wine that you can easily, like, as we're tasting it now, I'm like, oh, this would be great with, you know, would be great with barbecue, or great with some beans. I think it's one of those, it's a personal preference, and it's great now, but it's also, for sure, these can hold, you can cellar these easily for, I mean, at least another 10 years, I would say. So especially the Petite Sirah is just really fresh. It's really youthful.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, it smells younger than it is. So if that's any indication, you know, and I think if you like it, you know, see how it ages and changes. It's always so fun to come back to wines. You know, you have an expectation of what the wine's going to taste, and then you see how it evolves. So,
Helen is asking a question that I myself have thought about. The difference, or why is Syrah spelled with a Y versus Petite Sirah, the I? Do you know?
I don't know. I'll tell you. I was wondering the same thing. I will look into that. I'll let you know. I'll do some research tonight. But yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that too, but I'm like, somebody's going to ask me that question.
I know.
And I didn't have an answer for you.
Okay.
So, but I don't know, little Syrah, maybe.
It has to
Probably
do with
the
derivation.
linguistics.
So like Petite Bordeaux, it doesn't have the E at the end because it's French, and I think Syrah, it has to do with the guy that came up with it. I think he's also French, whereas Syrah is Shiraz in Australia. But Petite Sirah is completely American, which is why it's that classy E at the end.
Got it.
There we go.
It's American, basically, it sounds like. And it was the thing with Petite Sirah, though, to the point, Petite Sirah, you know, it was crossed in France, but really it didn't take off in France, and it has been more of a, you know, California varietal. So that is true.
And then a question from Tim on the size and shape of the glasses you're using when you're tasting. So when you're tasting the wines, do you try different glasses, big bowl, small bowl, a water glass?
Yes, I've done that. For this tasting, this is kind of this is our Riedel standard kind of glass for all varietals. So yes, I have played with that before. I would encourage everybody to do that. The different size bowls of the glasses, because they'll definitely change your perception, and it'll highlight certain notes of the wine. And even when you taste on your palate, the way that it falls on your tongue, that your perception of the texture of the wine will change as well. So I tend to, it's like my go-to is this, you know, and if I'm, you know, say I'm not going to have any wine with dinner and somebody offers me a little taste of something, I'll usually put it in just little, like a bicchiere, like, you know, little small glass, but I tend to just use the standard kind of catch-all glass.
And then a question from Jim Taylor. Are Shiraz and Syrah the same?
Yes. Shiraz, if you know the Australian varietal Shiraz and Syrah, they are the same grape, they just have different names. So the Australians made it very famous with their Shiraz. If many of you think of Shiraz, it is the same varietal. So just a grape grown in Australia versus here.
Cool. And then Glenn is asking, are you planning to plant any more Syrah or Petite Sirah in a new or different site? Which reminds me, it's good to clarify. I don't know if you said we're still making more of the Petite Sirah, correct?
So yeah, so the Petite Sirah, we're still making the Petite Sirah, and that's something that we purchase. So we don't grow any of our own Petite Sirah, whereas the Syrah was one of our estate grapes that we have replanted. And you know what? Who knows? We've been talking about, we have another block that we've been waiting, so we're trying to do our replanting in stages. So you never know. So time will tell. We'll find out. But yeah, there could be possibilities, but I'm not going to promise that, but you never know.
When you said earlier that it was your first time making the Petite Sirah, what's that like as a winemaker, like, you know, making or getting to play with a grape as a standalone, like for the first time?
I think it can be a little nerve-wracking, but really that's just on the side. It's just really fun and exciting. Like, it's great to be able to play with a different grape and to see what it does in your facility, and to really learn from it, and to just see the expression of the fruit. And you do a lot of chatting with your fellow winemaker friends and colleagues here, and you just play with it. I mean, that's the best part of it, is that harvest is our time to paint. You know, if you're an artist, painting on our canvases, that's the time that you're really getting to explore the vineyard you've been watching all year, and the grapes, and how you're going to then ferment them and see how they transition over the harvest. So I don't know. I think it was just super fun. It was just super fun and exciting to go, oh wow, I get to play with something new, and I'm proud of it. And I learned a lot from 15 that then we transitioned for like 16. Like I said, we started trying punch-ins and doing different ferment techniques, and that's really the fun and the beauty, and why I think if you ask winemakers, they get involved with winemaking, is that they love that busy time of harvest, and that when they get to play with the fruit and make the wine, and so it's I'm just getting really excited about harvest.
Yeah.
It's just I have a lot of planning to do, and but plans get interrupted, and that's okay too. And we're taking it as we can, given all the circumstances right now in life and the world, and and we're going to make the best wine we can and make everybody proud, and have some fun and some normalcy, and just do what we're good at, and just get to it. So it's going to look different, and as far as scheduling and groups and who gets to work with who and all that, but in the end, the essence of it's all there, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Michael's asking you to just go over the tasting notes for the Petite Sirah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay. Sorry, I was kidding. Okay, let's do the side by side so I can. Okay, so I'm going to take back, maybe, I don't remember what I said. For me, the Syrah is a little bit more red fruit today for me when I'm tasting it, and I get more of the black currant, black cassis, some blackberry in the Petite Sirah. And there's a little bit of some spice in there too. I can't quite, some herb, maybe like cardamom or something. Kind of cool. So I feel like it was more the darker fruits for me on the Petite Sirah. And on the palate, I believe you can just feel the stronger texture of the grapes. It's still got some nice body to it, and there's like a spicy component to it with that dark fruit. The Petite Sirah is a little bit more the way I view it is like focused. Like for me, the Syrah was much more round, and the Petite Sirah is more focused. And it's young. Like it has a lot of youthfulness to it. So, and it's got nice structure, right? And fruit there too. But yeah.
Chris is asking, how would you compare Syrah from Napa to Syrah from other regions in California, such as Paso?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that, well, I think you got to try some Syrahs, and I think you'll find obviously the commonalities of the variety. I think also of Paso to have ones that I've had. They have more of a, I get more like gamey, I guess, component to it, and they can be really hearty and hefty. I don't know. I think, to be honest, I haven't had a ton of those kind of wines, but I always think of Paso. They have such rich wines down there too, and they're really known for those varietals. So they've got this nice intensity, is what I would say, with the fruit.
Okay, we have time for probably one or two more questions because it's right at 6. But Rick is asking if you recommend decanting either of these.
Sure. I mean, I say if you decant the wines, it'll help really open it up, so you'll really get to see it at its glory. Kind of bring it sooner. Bring it to the party sooner, I guess is a good way to put it. Versus, or you can just open it up, like swirl it and enjoy it as it opens up. If you're having, of course, over a couple hours, or just to watch what it does. But I always, decanting does really help the wines really show their best.
Okay, last question from Jane, and then we'll tell people where where they'll see us next. Jane is asking, I know it's super bright for you. Do you have a preference between the two? Which obviously your answer is.
Oh, do I have a preference for the two? I would say no. I'm liking the Syrah today, I have to say. I think I'm liking the way the Syrah is showing today, so that would be but I like both of them. I think this one is so young and so tight on the palate that it needs some time to open up. So I guess I would probably decant this one and set it aside and wait for dinner. And this one I would probably enjoy while I was barbecuing. But I like them both.
That's a good answer. Okay, so we'll see folks again in 2 weeks on August 26th.
Yep. So see you in 2 weeks. For the next tasting, I believe we're going to do a comparison of Reserve Merlot. I believe it's the 2001 with the
2011.
2011, sorry. I meant to say that. In my head, I was saying 2011. Yeah, 2011 with the 2015. So that will be really fun. Those are really two very different vintages. It's going to be fun. And who knows, maybe I'll be starting harvest and already pressing Sauv Blanc and are starting our rosé. So stay tuned, and I wish you well and great health, and see you soon. Cheers.